success requires intention. Failure only requires neglect.
How do you give money a purpose?
So for you to give money a purpose, you should have purpose. The purpose starts from you, because money is a tool and you have to control it. If you don't control money, it controls you. And you don't want money being in control, because money dictates when you have a good time and when you don't. Money dictates if you smile with your kids or if you don't. Money dictates if you sleep or if you don't. Money dictates if you live or if you die when you don't control it.
In our series, financial literacy, it's a very sensitive and a very, very important topic. So, hey viewers, subscribe, like and comment. Make sure that you follow us, because this is going to be a very, very important show. So, Mr. Bruno, welcome to the studio.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I just can't stand this book, man. They are just, it's very, very important. And you see, if we make reading part of us, topics like this will be like the hunger, the passion, the love to know more. In short, it will be something that, you'll be hungry to keep eating it, dissecting it, because this is part of our lives.
Definitely.
You cannot escape it.
You cannot.
Our life centers around money, but the bad thing is that we don't really understand what is money. So my first question I have for you is this. Can you lay us the foundation, the ground, the context of which you can define financial literacy to a common man?
Well, thank you so much. As you mentioned, this topic is very sensitive. But I think we've come a long way to know that it is not one to ignore anymore.
That's true.
In 2026, if not for anything, your worst enemy is ignorance.
Ooh.
What you don't know is your worst enemy. It's not your, so to speak, the person that want to tear you down.
That's right.
It's not your, as we call it, village people. No, it's not. It's ignorance. It's the fact that there is something you're supposed to know and you don't know it, but it's available to you.
Right.
So financial literacy, to generalize everything, is exposing yourself to the strategies and the different ways in which you can make, manage, grow, and eventually transfer money. It's very common in our communities anywhere that we understand just one aspect of money, which is making it, which is getting yourself a side hustle or a job or probably a business and making money. The rest of it, which is what actually builds wealth, most people don't understand it. Managing it, growing it, and transferring it. So financial literacy is helping people understand these other aspects of money, right, that are hidden from us, and how we can leverage that to grow our nest egg, and of course, build a better future for the next generation, because that is eventually what all of this is about.
Everybody aspires to pass on, that legacy. You mentioned something very important when you were defining this sensitive topic. Our ignorance, we know how to make it, but we don't know how to multiply it. We don't know how to preserve it, and we don't know how to grow it. And the worst of all is the transferring that we love to say, I'm transferring this to my kids. We don't even know how to transfer it to our kids. So what is really that missing point? Like that misconception that we don't really understand in all of this that we find it. Like, what is that ingredient that is missing?
I think we got to go back to upbringing, our origin. And if we're speaking to predominantly immigrants, and immigrants could be from anywhere, let's focus on the immigrants from the continent of Africa. We didn't grow up knowing or taught how money works. As a matter of fact, where in my home, money was a very, very sensitive topic that you almost never address it. I think the only time we heard money was about money anyway was when you needed fees,
Yes.
or you were driven away for fees, and if you needed allowance,
Yes.
then you would go to one person, the dad.
You were fortunate that you even had allowance.
So allowance here would be for on Sunday you need a 25 francs or 50 francs to buy something extra for yourself. Yeah, you would go to dad and beg for money. So growing up with that mindset, right? And then eventually immigrating to the United States, to where the dynamics are completely different.
That's right.
We came with that same mindset. So there's a lot missing already because there are a lot of moving parts in the continent we find ourselves in, the system we find ourselves in. So that missing ingredient for me is just, again, lack of education, right? Lack of education. And when I say education, I don't just mean formal education.
Right.
Because the average person is educated.
That's right.
We have one of the most educated communities in the world, actually, not just in the world. So it's not just formal education, it's the lack of financial education. So that is missing in every class of the immigrant community, from the most educated PhD holders all the way down to maybe associate holders. That financial literacy is lacking, and that is what we need to fix.
I understand that aspect. Culture plays a role, upbringing plays a role, and also too the system we find ourselves in. So I want to ask you, how can you educate an individual? Let me bring the worst case scenario. He's not a reader, and he doesn't really listen or watch tapes that are educative. He doesn't associate with people that can uplift their mind, uplift their thinking, and also change their thinking pattern. So as a consultant, if you come across such a person, what are the foundations you can lay to build a successful educational session with that person?
For change to happen, the change has to be acknowledged in the first place. If you don't acknowledge you need a change, nothing is going to happen.
That's right.
So I'm assuming this individual has a need, because if you think nothing is wrong, then you need not fix anything. So we have to first of all identify the need, which is, if we do a basic Q&A, to where I'm asking you, how much are you making? Let's say you're making $2,000 a month.
Yes.
How much are you spending? Right? And if we realize you're spending more than you're making, then there's already a problem. So even no matter how close-minded you are, you know
Right.
there is a problem already.
That's true.
Because you're spending more than you're making.
That's true.
So you're already at a negative. That is already a problem. And if you're intentional about solving that problem, then we can have a
real
productive session. Because if you come to me and you're like, everything is fine, I don't think I have any problems. You don't have any debt. You're making enough to take care of yourself and pay your bills, and life is great. And you have enough emergency fund set aside for where, worst case scenario, you fall sick or you lose your job, you can still sustain your family. And you're putting away enough in your savings and investments and prepping for your kids to go to college. You have all that covered. If you are already doing all that, then you're already on the right path.
That's right.
But if any of these links are missing, then we have a problem. So it's a Q&A with that individual to just understand where the problem is, and then of course we can work on what solution works for them. So regardless of whether or not they're a reader, they're closed-minded, they don't commit, they don't interact with people. If they're sitting in front of me, I want to assume that they have a need and they're intentional about learning. Because if you're not intentional about it,
from India, he gave a certain illustration to me that stuck to me. He said, our knowledge about money is like running on a treadmill in America and across the continent of the earth. He said, when you start on the treadmill, you start gradually. Then the speed goes off. The speed goes off. The speed goes off. Then automatically, when we don't know how to slow down, then on the treadmill, right? When you are trying to slow down, don't know how to slow down, it takes you off the treadmill. Then he started interpreting it, just like what we were saying. He said, we start to look for money. We don't know how to multiply the money. We try to run behind money. When we get to the retirement stage, we don't know when to retire. We are falling off because when we were running behind the money, we didn't know how to preserve the money to wait for us so we can have a soft landing. This was 3 weeks ago till today. It blew my mind up. I said, open-mindedness and the change of culture is one of the greatest things that is holding us. Which takes me to my next question. What are our conception, understanding about the term money?
If you ask the average person, money is what you get after you offer a service. Money is your reward for rendering a service, whatever that service is. Your service could be a doctor. Your service could be a nurse, an IT professional. Your service could be working in a group home or driving Uber. That's a service.
Right.
So when you offer a service, you're compensated for the service you've offered. So to the average person, that's it.
That's money.
That's money. You mentioned something about chasing money. And for a very long time, I think just a couple of years ago, I believed you had to work hard for money. But my perspective or my conception changed the more I studied this topic of money. And I came to realize you attract money. You don't chase money. If you chase money, it runs away from you. You attract money by becoming
A person of
valuable,
valuable.
someone of value, right? So, if your intention is to build wealth, if your intention is just to be comfortable, then okay, you can make just enough to take care of your basic needs. But every single person I talk to, their hope is to get to a point where they're not working anymore, where they don't want, where they can work because they want to, not because they have to. And so what that makes me understand is everyone has a fundamental hope that at some point in life you'll get to a point where you've preserved enough money, just from the example you're giving out,
Yes.
you've preserved enough during your working days to say, you know what, I don't want to work anymore. Or I want to work because I want to, not because I have to, right? So the word money comes with a lot of nuances, and just knowing, in my opinion anyway, knowing what your intention for getting money is, and that I could expatiate on that, but knowing what your objective for getting money is very important.
Yes,
And
go deeper.
And I think a lot of people don't truly have a purpose for money aside from just paying bills, aside from just surviving. They don't really have a purpose for money, and so they end up just doing the bare minimum. All right. They end up just putting some money away because, well, you know, I have to have a savings. They end up just putting some money away because I hear there is something called a retirement, but not really intentional about it. Right. And years down the line, you realize, just like the treadmill example, you thought you were running, but you were probably just marking time
That's true.
on the same spot. Because if the purpose of your money is not multiplication or growth, you find out you dump it in places, you don't strategically place it. So let's say you put it in a savings account, and we're looking at inflation right now, which, if I can break that down, inflation is the price of goods and services. You know, gas has gone up, electricity, rent, mortgage, homes, prices have gone up.
Groceries.
But the value of your money is not increasing alongside inflation. So if inflation is at 3%, for example, but your money is growing at 0.02%, which is what most banks offer, by the way, it means the value of your money is declining. So over the years, you realize you thought you were doing something, but you were actually doing nothing. Because as the prices of goods and services increase over the years, you get to a point where you go to your bank and say, I have $10,000. Now let me use it. Then you realize the value of $10,000 has shrunk to about $6,000, but it's still $10,000. But it can only afford $6,000 worth of services or goods. So money requires intention. You have to know what it's for in the first place, aside from just paying bills, right? It's having that vision for yourself, of course, and in your family. Where are we heading to? What is the plan here? Is the plan to build wealth or just survive? If it's to build wealth, then you got to do better. They have to get away from traditional savings and start looking at how can I grow along or above inflation, which is what I highly recommend. And then how can I compound my money over time? And those, you know, when we get to where we're talking about strategies, we can probably dive deep into that.
Right.
But I personally believe money as a whole, aside from just a means of compensation, is a tool that needs to be understood. Because lack of understanding is what has got us here. Right? Lack of understanding of the topic of money is what has, you know, caused a lot of families to separate. It's caused a lot of communities to, you know, it's caused a lot of destruction in communities. It's caused a lot of siblings to stop talking to each other. Lack of financial understanding is the number one cause of divorce in this time and age. Not infidelity. When you talk to divorce lawyers, they tell you when they do a deep dive into what actually caused the separation, it's not he cheated on me or she cheated on me. It's I can't stand him, I can't stand her. And when you dive deeper, why
Right.
can't you stand him or why can't you stand her? Their perspective or their psychology on the topic of money.
You remember at the top of the show, I mentioned the fact that this is a very tricky, very sensitive. We hide and shy from it, but it's killing us.
It is.
So, what you don't know is what kills you.
That's the biggest enemy.
And when you know what can kill you, you stand a better chance to fight it before it hits you. You mentioned something very, very important, which I want you to dive deep into it. How do you give money a purpose?
So for you to give money a purpose, you should have purpose. You know, the purpose starts from you because money is a tool and you have to control it. If you don't control money, it controls you. And you don't want money being in control because money dictates when you have a good time and when you don't. Money dictates if you smile with your kids or if you don't. Money dictates if you sleep or if you don't. Money dictates if you live or if you die when you don't control it. Right? So you give money a purpose by having a purpose for yourself, regardless of money. Because remember, money is a tool. So what is your purpose in life? What are you trying to fulfill? What is your vision for yourself and your family? Because money comes secondary. So you have a purpose. What is your purpose? To change lives. How? To build an orphanage. Why? Because I want to help, less privileged. How does that make you feel? When you do all that, then what? Because I want to be righteous with God. Okay, you could add whatever, mixed to it. But you got to answer all these underlying questions. What is my purpose? What do I want to, why do I want to do it? And then what do I need to accomplish all of this? All right? If it's to build wealth for my family or send my kids to college, let me put that, send my child to college. That's the purpose. That's your purpose, first of all. I want my kids to have the best in our life, at least go to college without borrowing any money. So that's what you're trying to solve. Why? Because you don't want them, indebted when they get to their adult age. How is that going to make you feel? It's going to make me proud as a dad, as a mom. All right. What tool do we need to make this happen? To make your why come true, to make you feel the way you want to feel? We need money. So now when you get money, you know what to do with it. You know that the purpose for this money is college fund. The purpose for this money is, real estate or building wealth or investing, right? So you give yourself a purpose, then your money follows the purpose you've already set for yourself. So if you don't have an underlying purpose of why you need money in the first place, then all you're going to do is hustle. All you're going to do is work.
You grind.
With no real direction of why do you actually need money, right? If I tell you to stop, don't go to work today, can you just sit home? No, you can't. Because you want to go hustle, you want to go make that money. And I tell you, why do you want to make money though? Is it just to pay bills? If it's just to pay bills, the day you have enough to pay bills, you're going to relax.
Of
you're
course.
Going to be like,
I'm not going out.
Yeah, the day you work, the day you have your 2,000 to pay your rent and pay your bills, you're going to relax at home. But when you have an underlying, a burning desire of what you want to do with money, it becomes, you don't just hustle because you want to hustle. You hustle because it's going to help you fulfill all this, things that then, make you feel the way you want to feel after you've achieved all of that.
You mentioned something very important, which is one of the questions that I have for you. You spoke about wealth. There is a difference between riches and wealth. But an average man knows that riches and wealth are the same. But there is an underlying difference, which I discovered that in this Mastering Financial Literacy. It's a very good book. Viewers, make sure in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link. You can order a copy from Amazon.com. So be a reader. So most of the discussions that we're having on this show, you can have an in-depth when you ordered a copy of this book from Amazon.com. So make sure in the description of this video, you're going to find the link to purchase this book. Back to my question, sir. What are the key factors that you can highlight to differentiate between riches and wealth? Let me put it this way. Can someone be rich and not wealthy?
110%. As a matter of fact, I thought it was the same thing in the beginning. Back growing up in Cameroon, we considered that was the same thing, by the way. Growing up, wealth and riches, there was no difference as far as I was concerned. And we viewed anyone with a big house and a big car as wealthy, regardless of how they got it or regardless of what they did to achieve. We considered anyone with a big car and a fenced house and a big car, we considered them wealthy. Then, of course, you grow up and you learn. And I understood that you can be rich but not wealthy. Now, I'm going to touch on cash flow and high income, right? You can be a high income earner and be broke at the same time. So let me actually answer the specific question, which is the rich and wealthy. Let me say you're rich if you have enough to satisfy your basic needs. You're rich if you can pay your rent, if you can pay your debt. You can take care of your family. You can probably take a vacation once a year. You can save up and take a vacation once a year. You're rich. You're considered rich. But if you stop working, you go broke real fast. You're rich. Medical doctors are very rich. Nurses are rich. IT professionals are rich because they have enough money to take care of their basic needs and have some savings.
Right.
That's rich. But the day you stop showing up to do whatever you did to get the money, everything dries up within a couple of months. Wealth is when you get to a level, to a stage where you're cash flowing automatically, regardless of whether or not you show up to work. When you've built systems or you've invested enough in assets to where your assets can pay you regardless of you working. I think it was, excuse me if I get the wrong name. I think it was either Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett that said, if your money is not working for you while you sleep,
It's Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, it's going to work until you die.
Yes, it's Warren Buffett. I listened to that his talk. I think it's this annual conference that he always have it's in Omaha, right?
Wow.
Where he said, if you can't make money while you are asleep, you look for money till you die.
Exactly.
Man.
So that is wealth talk right there. It's not rich talk. Rich people look for who can pay me more. So a rich person, or considered rich, is the person looking for who is paying $2 more or who is paying $5 more. I can work for you if you can pay me, $500 a week. But if someone offers me $600 a week, I'm leaving. I'm going. So you're selling your services, you're selling your time and your skills. All right?
Right.
You can start from being rich to building wealth. While you're making all this money, if you strategically position the money in assets, you can get to a point where you can say, you know what, I don't want to work for you anymore. And you still make enough or more than what you were doing while working. That's when you can consider yourself wealthy. It's when the systems are put in place, which is, i.e. assets, can cash flow enough to take care of your basic needs and more. Right?
Right.
That's when you start hitting the doorsteps of wealth.
In your quest or in your desire or passion to either build riches or wealth, there are traps. What are some of those common traps that you will find yourself in those traps that will be like the treadmill that we said earlier on? And if you find yourself in those traps, how can you either face them or avoid them? Like in project management, right? There are ways of which you tackle a roadblock to that project. You either cut through it, or you move around it, or you jump. Right? Those terminologies, you always hear a lot of them in project management. So my question is, what are those traps that you will likely see in your quest to build either riches or wealth?
I love this quote. It says, when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. And for the most part, a lot of predominantly immigrants are already in a hole because they already made the mistakes of leveraging on debt. They already have a lot of school loans.
Credit cards.
They already have credit cards. They already have all these things piled up.
Ooh.
They already have 2 or 3 or 4 credit cards. They're already $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in debt. Right? So building wealth is a far reach for most of them. but can still be done. Like I said, when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. You stop digging so you can slowly start filling up that hole to get to a place where you have a foundation to pivot, right? And so those are some of the mistakes. Debt. Bad debt. Let me be specific.
Yes.
There is bad debt and there is good debt.
I was about when you mentioned that, I said,
So, yeah.
Yes.
Bad debt are some of the loopholes that most people find themselves in. And bad debt are things that take money but don't add enough value to you. Bad debt would be an overextended credit card. Because, and we're going to talk, we can probably get onto credit cards and whatnot.
Yes.
Those are some of the loopholes. Bad debt. So how would you identify bad debt and good debt? You know, it comes again, it's going to circle back to that literacy that we started with.
right.
Literacy. Understanding or knowing what is good debt or what is considered good debt and what is considered bad debt. Which for most of us that immigrate to a different country, I don't want to stay specific to the United States.
Right.
When we immigrate to a different country, we don't take the time to learn and understand the systems in that country, right? So we overextend ourselves with a lot of loans. So bad debt is one of them. Taxes is another.
That's a big one.
Taxes is another. Because if your intention is to build wealth, you have to build wealth using the most tax efficient methods. In studying the successful people, you notice that they minimize taxes to the lowest. They either pay very low taxes or no taxes at all.
When I started reading about taxes, man, I was lost and I stopped it. And because the information was getting complex and so cumbersome to the point where I asked myself, like, when I had to go to IRS and I downloaded my tax returns and I was trying to understand it. And I said to myself, I really need to consult someone. That's when I said, there are some services that we neglect and that we ignore. We don't want to pay the price for. I wrote one of my quotes that said, whatever you cannot pay the price for, you're not permitted to take the product home. You mentioned a very good point. I would like you to dwell on that taxes. You know, we're in the tax season.
Definitely. It's tax season.
Yes.
So taxes can hinder your ability to build wealth because, you know, my CPA, I remember 2019. I was in the IT world back then.
Yes.
So I was a database administrator. I had 3 IT jobs. And if my memory serves me right, I had made over 400,000 that year. And when I sat down with him to do my taxes, I remember he said, "Young man, do you know how much you paid in taxes?" I know. Because who cares about taxes, man? Because you're getting post-tax money. So
Right.
you only care about what enters your bank account. You don't care
Right.
what the IRS is keeping.
Right.
You only realize that at the end of the year. So he said you paid $168,000
In taxes.
in taxes because I had made over $400,000 gross.
Wow.
I don't remember net because the money comes you spend, so you don't
Right,
really care
right.
how much is
Right.
left. But when he said you paid 160 something thousand ish in taxes, I didn't sleep. I did not sleep because I remember 2016 when our current president was running for office. There was a debate on how much he paid, $700 in taxes.
Yes.
And that gentleman is a multi-billionaire paying $700 in taxes. So that alone should give you a perspective
That's true.
of how much ignorance of taxes can limit or diminish your chance of ever building wealth if you don't understand it. So here am I, an immigrant, thinking I am very in my world successful.
Right. Because of you
Because I see how much I'm
paycheck.
making.
The paycheck is coming and
But there is a third, or there is a co-signer on every paycheck or on every offer letter I sign. Someone signs it with you. You don't see them. They don't introduce themselves, but they exist.
They exist.
And they take a heavy share. They take the most out of, because if I tell you the IRS is going to take 20% of your paycheck, you're like, That's cool. But 20% for what? You show up to work every day, you drive in the snow, you stay away from your family, you do all the work, and they take 20% for doing nothing. You change jobs and get a higher paycheck.
They chase you.
Yeah, their share increases. So yeah, taxes is huge, and this is tax season. So let me give let me use myself as an example. I'm a businessman now. I earn most of my money on a 1099 basis.
Right.
So let's compare. For someone earning a W-2, let's say I make $100,000 on a 1099. They make $100,000
on W-2.
We both made $100,000.
Right.
The IRS takes, let's be conservative, say 25% or 20%, right? For round figures, 20% of 100,000 is 80,000. So they let's say they take home $80,000. Okay. I make the same $100,000. First of all, the IRS takes their money pre-tax.
Right.
Right. So they're only getting after-tax money, but I get paid the entire 100,000. Okay. So I get to spend on my business. Right. I get to run my business, then report whatever to the IRS. So I can legally, of course, based on my business expenses and whatever, I can report to the IRS, you know what? Yes, I made 100,000, but I had to spend the entire 100,000 on my business. And I actually went above what I was supposed to. I made 100, but I actually spent 110,000. So I ended the year at negative. All right, on paper, of course. And so it means I owe the IRS nothing, because I can justify that I made 100, but I spent the entire 100 on my business. But you can't justify that because the IRS already took their cut, and they already know how much you're making. They already know your responsibilities because you report your
company is already giving you everything.
They're already doing all that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, what a lot of people consider a return from the IRS.
It's just a chicken. It's a token.
No, it's the IRS has an amount you're supposed to pay. If I use you as an example, 3 kids, spouse,
right?
The IRS knows how much you're supposed to pay, give them. So let's say you told them you have 3 dependents, and based on their calculations, you were supposed to pay $25,000 from your 100,000, but they only took 20,000. So when you file your taxes, they're gonna say, no, Mr. Innocent, you were supposed to pay 25,000, so you still owe us 5,000. So we need it back. That's when they request you to pay them.
Right.
Now, if you get to the end of the year and they say, oh, because you have 4 dependents, was only supposed to deduct 15,000, but we actually took 20,000.
So we're referring you 5,000.
So it's your money. The IRS doesn't manufacture money to give you. It's the money you worked for. They just do checks and balances at the end of the year to say, did we take more than we were supposed to, or did we take less? If we took more, we're going to give you a refund. And if we took less, right, you've got to pay us.
You know, it was 2018. Yes, 2018. I've not been here that long. My understanding about taxes was not deep. That's why, remember, we talked at the top of this show about financial literacy. You need to be hungry for information. I had worked at the end of the year. The guy that did my taxes, he said I was owing $8,000. I did not sleep.
I think everyone recalls their first time paying the IRS.
I did not sleep. I mean, like, I said literally, like $8,000. Then I was reading the book by Steve Harvey, Jump. Maybe in one of his shows, he has also made mention about it, where he was owing IRS.
Yeah.
His tax guy screw up stuff. In this, when you started explaining some of those traps that hinder us from building riches and wealth, and you mentioned about taxes, we we'll have a show where we just only gonna break down on this tax stuff. I know you have it in this book, which is very, very important. There's one trap which I want you to differentiate while still in our quest to build wealth and riches. Is debit cards and credit cards. Can you break that down? How do these two push us forward or bring us down? Debit cards and credit card.
You know, the third trap I was going to mention, then I go into this was
Yes.
is the why we're here in the first place. Knowledge.
Knowledge, yes.
That's the third trap. Knowledge is knowing how to build wealth in the first place, right? What to position our money in, where to focus, you know, and you can learn a lot from just studying successful people. They say if you want to be successful, do what successful people do. So that brings me to networking and associations, right? If you're with the wrong crowd, your chance of building wealth are slim to none. If your environment, if the people you're learning from or listening to, if your community is not wealth focused, you're going to be a replica of the people around you in your society or your culture, your environment. So that's another trap, is association, right? And that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest traps, actually. Because if you don't expose yourself to the right people and the right information and the right places, the concept of building wealth is foreign to you, and it's going to stay foreign. Once you get around the right people, your mindset, no matter how close it is prone to open.
I agree.
It is going to open whether you like it or not, because the environment alone is totally different. I can tell you, when I mingle with people that I consider wealthy, the conversation alone is different. The conversation is 100% different from when I mingle with other people. Because what are we talking about? What is the main topic? Are we talking about people?
Are we talking
Are we talking about things? Are we talking about strategies? What are we talking about? What is the conversation, you know? So that is the third trap. And in my opinion, one of the most important, or one of the most critical traps out there.
Association,
Networking. Now, to address credit cards, debit card. Let me give you a backstory. When I came to the US, my brother asked, when I started working, I remember, well, I had owned a bank account when I lived in Dubai. But, you know, you come to a new country, you need to, you know,
right. Adapt to the system.
So he asked me to go create a checking account, which I did. And they offered me a debit card, which I took. Then I remember the lady asked me, it was Bank of America. I recall the branch in New Jersey, in Jersey City, New Jersey. I still recall, as I'm speaking to you, I can recall the building. I remember the lady asking me, do you want a credit card? In Dubai, I never used a credit card. I only knew my debit card. I just swiped it to buy things and that's it. She asked, do you need a credit card? I'm like, what is that? And she said, no, it's just money. It's just a card with money, and then you can use it whenever you want to buy anything, which is good for you. That's the only description I got. It's just money, you know, it's just money. If you want, you can use it to buy, you know, things. I'm like, okay, how much is it? She said $500. I said, okay. In my mind, and being very transparent, I thought it was a gift. Yes, I thought she just gave me because, yeah, my first paycheck was cash. So I took it to the bank. It was 700 and some change. Took it to the bank. So when I opened a bank account, they deposited $700 and something in there. So I could see it when they opened the app and showed me how to log in.
Right.
And then she's asking me if I need $500, if I want to get $500 more dollars. So I'm like, oh, maybe when you open an account, they give you extra like $500. So I took it. And I didn't spend my own money. I spent that $500. And when it was done, I tossed the card. So I never bothered even paying it off. That caught up to me when I started receiving letters to pay, receiving letters. Then the $500 had grown to about 900 and some change-ish because I ignored it for a while. I genuinely thought it was a gift. I Until I told I think one of the letters came and my brother saw it and said, why are you not paying your credit card? I said, credit, what is, then he started explaining what a credit card is.
Wow.
That is how naive I was. The genesis of it all. That's how I got into my initial debt, just a couple of months into the United States. Okay. So a debit card is a digital representation of your cash.
Yes.
You have $1,000 cash. You can count the $100 bills, 10, right? And you're telling the bank, I don't want to carry this cash. Give me something that represents the same amount. So they give you a paper, plastic, and which represents your $1,000. So if you want to spend that $1,000, instead of paying cash, you can then pay with your debit card. So you're basically spending the cash that is sitting in your bank account. Okay. A credit card is a loan a bank gives you. And you have the liberty of spending it if you want to spend it. But if you spend it, we're going to charge you for spending it. All right. So you get to decide if you want to spend it or not. But if you choose to spend it, we're going to charge you an interest. You're going to pay us for spending our money. So that's the bank's money they're giving you. It's not your money. So that's what a credit card is. And so you get to decide how you want to spend it.
Right.
Or where you want to spend it, or what you want to spend it on. If you want to go buy whatever, you have the choice to do it. And now, what a credit card should not be, because I learned the hard way. Now, the misunderstanding with a credit card is a lot of people, in my opinion anyway, as far as I'm concerned, you should only spend as much as you have available. What I mean is, if a bank gives you a loan, let's say a credit card, a loan, you have a $1,000 credit card, you should only spend up to $1,000 if you have $1,000 cash in your debit
to repay it
off. Immediately you go $1 above what you have available, you're already at a negative, because that is when the interest starts accruing. When you cannot pay off the balance on your credit card every month, that's when the interest accrues. So they calculate, that's why, and we can get into the tricks of how banks do all of this.
Right.
But, so, for a basic understanding, that's how I view debit and credit. Debit is your own money, a representation of your own money.
Right.
Credit card is a loan from the bank.
So when you merge the two together, how does it impact you from building wealth or riches?
So I think it interferes with your ability to build wealth if you misuse credit. If you misuse credit, let's say you overspend what you have, then you are at a deficit, of course. Then you go to the bank. And the bank is charging you very high interest rates, by the way, for using their money. Most banks charge from 18 to about 29% interest rate.
Right.
So, and the more you owe them, it compounds.
The more they make more money.
The more they make more money, and the more the debt spiral just keep compounding.
Right.
And we mentioned earlier, debt is one of the traps
that's us
killing
from yeah.
So, and it stems from that lack of, when you misuse a credit card. You're going to use a credit card, you should have enough money in your checking or your debit to pay it off, right? If you're going to overstretch, then that becomes a hindering, factor in your journey to building wealth. Because again, if you owe too much, then you have more going towards paying off debt rather than going towards investments. And investments are the tools that build wealth.
Next question that I had here to table before you is, when we talk of wealth and we talk of long-term thinking, these are two different things. Many think wealth, but they don't think of long-term thinking. Then my question to you is, in our quest to be wealth, at what point should we start thinking of investing?
My philosophy, the compounding takes time, and the earlier you start, the better. I would personally say, from the genesis, you should be investing in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter how small it is. I think Scripture says, if you can't manage small, much will not be given to you. I'm paraphrasing.
To him that
Right.
yeah.
So-
might demanded.
And one of my mentors says, if you cannot save $100, if you cannot save $10, forget about saving $100. It's the habit that counts.
I remember one call that we had, just to sidetrack you a little bit. We discussed about this book, Atomic Habits.
Atomic habits.
We're discussing, we touched about investment, and we're talking about this your second book on stock.
Stock.
I read a point where you made mention about the old habits that we fail to break them from little things. And we always procrastinate and promise ourselves that tomorrow, in this on stock, hey viewers, once again, the link of this book for fast readers, you can read this book in 1 hour. I'm being honest. I'm sincere about that. You can read this book on stock. The link for this book will also be placed in the description of this video. So go to amazon.com and place an order for this particular book. Fast readers can just brush it in one sitting. I love that book. I sincerely really love it. It really changed so much of my thinkings, some habits that I had. And just like what you said, that if you cannot save $10 or invest $10, that's what in safer.
$10 is about 5,000.
5,000. So if you cannot save 5,000 francs safer, you cannot save 100,000. So going back to your point, start as early as possible, and nothing is small.
Nothing is small. I think we ignore the little things. We ignore the little things, but those are the most important aspects of building wealth, or being successful in any area of our lives. Be it workout, be it faith, be it career, be it studies. For example, if you want to read this book, it only takes 1 page at a time.
Right.
So compare me reading 1 page at a time to the person who plans to read the entire book at the end of the month. The likelihood of them reading that book at that end of the month is slim to
Very
none.
slim to zero.
Because life, one of my mentors says, life is a storm. You're either coming out of a storm,
Or you're entering a storm.
you're in a storm, or you're about to get into one. And so if life is a storm, you got to build regardless. So you can't wait for the perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect time. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. You can't say when I get to 40, then I'm going to start investing.
Yeah. There's this pastor in Nigeria. I've forgotten the name. He said, we used to sing this song that my tomorrow must be greater than today. He says it's a myth. Because the tomorrow that you said yesterday, right? It has already come and gone.
Exactly.
So, or like we always claim the blessings of Abraham, which is, you remember earlier on I mentioned, we're discussing where I said our Christianity, our beliefs, our interpretation of the Bible has corrupted us so much on this topic of financial literacy. We have shifted our responsibility to faith. I don't know, be it Christian, be it Muslims. I'm just talking of any religion, be it Hindus, Buddhists. I don't know more about, but I want to lay emphasis on the fact that we need to separate the two. There's a place for faith, and there's also a place for this particular knowledge. I gave this example to someone the other day. We were talking on the call. I said, when Jesus Christ was confronted and they asked him to pay taxes, remember I said, let's keep this tax issue because it's very detailed. It traces a route. Jesus Christ said, hey, Peter, go to the river, cast your net. The first fish that you catch, open the mouth, pull out a coin, come and pay these guys, and let us go. Jesus Christ did not pray. He did not fast. He did not give anointing oil. He did not use the mantle. He did not use holy water. He actually paid. So there's a clear distinction which I want to put. There is a place of faith and there's a place of understanding and action. So coming back to your point, there is no time, which you expand on that. There is no time to start. The good time to start is now.
It's now. I say start where you are with what you have and figure it out. Because as now the I think modern, if I can say modern, or as I say modern religious are now waking up to the realities of what is actually affecting
The
our
Christians.
communities and Christians, to be specific. And now you're going to notice that most, not all, but most preachers or pastors or men of God are now teaching extensively on the topic of money or finances in general. Because they have realized if all you do is pray for me and not give me solutions to solve my problem. Let's say my child is sick, or I need to pay my kids' fees. And all you do is pray. Say, God bless you. And then I go sleep. Nothing is going to change. Nothing. Nothing changes until you change. And so they're waking up to the reality that they have to equip their Christians with the how. Let's pray, but how do you actually build wealth? And then they're now realizing that every single principle to build wealth is in the scripture. Every single principle. In my book, Mastering Financial Literacy, I actually did that. At the end of every chapter on investing, on savings, on budgeting, on emergency fund, there are scriptural references to where in scripture it talked about saving.
Make sure you order this book. It's fun.
In scripture it talked about investing. In scripture it talks about budgeting. Scripture has references on all of this topic, by the way.
Here's that a man who wants to build a tower.
Yeah.
He fails not to sit down
And
and count the cost.
Exactly.
That's budgeting.
That's budgeting.
You know, I mentioning scriptures. I was listening to, was it Joshua Sermon? I think it should be Joshua Sermon, where he was really breaking down the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. He said that was a combination of two things in one: budgeting and management. Because if you don't know how to manage in your days of plenty, you will suffer. And then he ended up by saying something that fake life is so expensive.
Well, that's very true, by the way, and that goes back to the investing,
Right.
right? If you cannot manage the years of plenty, right, or the years of small, so to speak, right?
Right.
So if all you're making right now is $1,000 a month, all right. Now, what most of us fail to do, or we do so backwards, and I hope everyone listening to this can capture this, is we pay ourselves last. We spend first, then pay ourselves last. It should be the other way around.
We pay
You
ourselves
should
first
pay yourself first, then
and
spend.
spend last.
Most of us spend, then invest whatever is left,
We don't even pay.
or save whatever is left. That's why nothing is left at the end of the day, because after you're done paying whatever you think you're supposed to pay off, then you realize there's nothing left. Then the savings, there's no need to save, there's no need to invest. But investing should come first. If you're telling me, if your goal is to invest or save, $10 a month or $100 a month, the first thing you should do when your paycheck hits is do that.
Take away the savings.
Take away the savings, take away the investing. Then spend.
Wow.
Right? It should be the other way around. And so investing, to me, if your intention is to build wealth, you got to invest and leverage the time factor that compounding needs to actually build the wealth you're looking for. You look at Warren Buffett, who's considered one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Right.
This gentleman started when he was in his 30s. Way
No.
younger than that, 11 or so.
He bought his first stock, I think, at the age of 11.
So imagine from 11 years old, he's 90 something, right?
He just stepped down from the CEO, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, CEO.
How many years of compounding has that done? So I'm telling you, there are people who work very normal or average jobs that end up building wealth, that just understand the time factor of investing early. If you're investing $100 a month for a very long period of time, I'm telling you, you get to a point where if there is someone else investing $10,000 a month, they will never catch up.
The $100 that you say, let me go to McDonald's or let me go to any restaurant, just to feel yourself, right?
Yep.
If you can break that down and cut off that $100 to go into a restaurant and put it as your savings, that is going to compound. Just like you said, it might be so small in your eyes, but what that $100 away is doing will blow your mind off.
It's called opportunity cost.
Thank you. In economics. So now that brings me to our last topic that we'll break down here: modern money and technology. As a financial literacy consultant, can you advise a young man in his 30s or 40s to build around modern currency?
Again, I have my reservations with that. It is highly speculative. It is highly volatile. It's uncertain. We're seeing a lot of, it's unregulated at the moment in most parts of the world. The US has not regulated that. There's no tax strategy for it yet. So there is still a lot of uncertainties there. Now, there are those who argue pro and those who argue the opposite. If your entire nest egg is going to be tied up in that asset class, I'm going to say no, 100% no. What I mean is, if your only investment strategy is that, because that is an asset class that swings every direction, every second. So you could be up 100% and then
Down.
and then negative,
In just the next second.
right? I've been victim to it. When cryptocurrency was doing the rounds in 2018, 2019-ish, I dumped a lot of money into it. I didn't understand what was going on. I was following hype, right? And when it comes to investing, you have to understand what you're investing in. And that is what a lot of people lack. They don't take the time to learn what is the underlying asset class you're putting your money in. Yes, we say stocks. What is a stock? How does a stock move? What influences it to move? How do you make money from stocks, actually? And how you get taxed when you make money from stocks? No one asks all these questions. All we do is
true.
buying stocks.
And you don't know the stocks.
You don't know the stock. You don't know who
owns it.
No, you just dumping money in there because a friend told you so, or you listen to one YouTuber who says it's a good stock, but you don't really take the time to do a deep dive.
Research.
So, cryptocurrency as a whole, a lot of people don't understand it because it's volatile and exciting. It's you want to put some money in there and feel the excitement or feel the dopamine rush of just see your money go up and down. But if your intention is to build wealth, and most wealthy individuals don't have a good chunk of their nest egg tied up in cryptocurrency. They have about 5%.
Whoa.
The most people I've studied and I've talked to, they have about 5% of their entire net worth. Think of someone who is worth, let's say, $1 million, and they only have 5% in crypto.
That's a drop.
Exactly.
A drop in the
So
ocean.
even if that goes to zero, they are unaffected.
They're untouched.
But you find young men in their 30s putting their entire savings or their entire investment in crypto. If it goes to zero, they're broke. They're back to negative. Actually, not actually broke.
Wow.
So I have my reservations with that. I still believe, and it's been proven for many, many years, real estate still remains one of the best asset classes. The stock market still remains one of the best asset classes if you're doing it for the long term. You're not trading. I'm not saying trading doesn't make you money, because there are a lot of people making money in trading.
Yeah, yeah.
The percentage of people that actually make money from trading are very, very low. Because the competition, I was listening to this gentleman, Jamie Dimon, I think that's his name. He's the CEO of one of the largest banks or hedge funds in the country. And he says the average trader has no chance, because you're dependent on clicking the button to buy and clicking the button to sell. And they have this supercomputers. They have supercomputers trading automatically for them. So before you even think of selling or think of buying, or before it ever comes through Robinhood or whatever, they've already traded and exited before you even see the ticker. Before you even click buy or click sell, they have been in and out. You have no chance. You have the chance of you winning are almost slim to none.
Whoa.
He said it. So there are people making money from trading, but the majority end up losing money. It's because I've been there, right? When you're in that space, you're addicted to it.
Space of 4 days, I lose $5,000.
Yeah, 100%.
I wanted to drag hairs out of me. So currently, right now, if you just mention the word anything crypto, you are talking to the wrong person. But I came to realize that I didn't do due diligence. It's not a bad thing.
It's not.
It's so. My point is, I did not do my research.
Understand what you're buying.
I did not do my homework.
And are you investing? Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
Are you investing or trying to trade? An investor who is intentional about building wealth, you don't hear wealthy people saying, "Oh, I bought crypto today, I sold it tomorrow, or I'm gonna sell it tomorrow." No, they say, "I invest in crypto." Investing means you're buying for the long haul.
Right.
You're buying the main ones mainly. You're buying either Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The renowned. You're buying them to hold. So you buy them in 2026. Your intention is, I'm gonna hold it for as long as I can.
Right.
Because over time, if you bought Bitcoin, for example, in 2018, for example, if all you did was hold it and say, you know what, I don't care if it goes up tomorrow or goes down tomorrow, I don't care, but I'm holding it for 10 years. 10 years from 2018
till now,
it was at, let's say, $40,000 in 2018.
It was not. 40,000 is too much.
Yeah,
so it was way down there.
So, for example, let's say it was $40,000 or $20,000 in 2018. All you did was invest it. You're not trying to trade. If you're trading, then you're worried about it going up or going down or going down. But if you're investing, you don't care if it goes up or go. I'm saying it's 10 years. The stock market over time appreciates.
Right. Does not depreciate.
Bitcoin over time has appreciated.
Right.
All right. So it went from 20,000, for example, to $110,000 right now. So if all you did was invested money, then you're at a plus right now.
At a big plus.
Yeah. So those who are jumping out there, you lose a lot. There is the quote that says, "Time in the market is better than timing the market." And most people try to time the market.
Time in the market is better than timing
the market.
Because
most people try to time the market. I'm going to look for when it's going up, then I buy. When it's going down, then I sell. When it's going up, I buy. So over time, I'm going to make way more money than you.
Because you basically, the underlying point here is Patience.
Patience. Compounding.
Patience.
Albert Einstein said when he was asked, his brilliant mind, out of everything he's created, he's one of the pioneers of the atomic bomb, the technology, the mind, the science behind it. When he was asked, what is the eighth wonder of the world? He said it's compounding. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world because people don't really understand the compound effect of anything you do. Investing, faith, fitness, anything. The compound effect is enormous. So you're either compounding for you or against you. It's either you're growing, you're slowly growing, or you're slowly succeeding, or you're slowly failing. A lot of people don't realize it. They only see it 20 years down the line of whatever they're doing right now.
Right.
They wake up 20 years and they be like, where have I been? Because you're either slowly succeeding or you're slowly failing. Slowly succeeding means you're doing intentional things to be successful.
Right.
Slowly failing is you're intentionally ignoring what you're supposed to be doing to be successful. Right?
Wow. What a way to end this. This is like, as I said at the top of the show, it's gonna be a show that we're gonna run it down the line. Financial literacy is something that we cannot really exhaust.
Definitely.
I'm really very grateful to have you today, and what a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And
before we wrap up, I want to leave the audience with let me just put this out there. As far as building wealth is concerned, since we're talking about building wealth,
yes.
Now, you can't build a house by putting up the walls,
right,
or putting up the roof. Now, what happens to most people is they feel they're building a house, but all they've done is put up the walls and the roof, paint it, and are happy for a while, until the winds come blowing and the rain start falling. Then they realize they didn't actually build, because every house needs a solid foundation.
I agree.
Every single house needs a solid foundation on which to stand on, so that when the winds come, and they're gonna come,
they will,
and the wind and the rain start falling, and they're gonna fall, your house needs to be on a solid
rock,
on the solid floor. So that foundation is where I want to leave with everyone out there.
Yes.
And after years of studying successful people and getting to understand, how do they go about things, this economy runs on something called insurance. This system runs on insurance, whatever insurance it is. That's why you get insurance on the car, because you want, when the wind comes, which is, God forbid, an accident or whatever, you want to fall back on something, which is the insurance. You get health insurance, the same thing, right? You're healthy as it is right now. Life is great. But if you fall sick, that's the wind. You want to fall back on, you want to be solid on something.
At the top of the show, you mentioned something about our stubbornness. I don't know who made mention of this quote, that we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
The illiterate of the 21st century is not someone who cannot read and write.
Right.
But someone who cannot learn, unlearn, and
relearn.
Alvin, I forgot his last name, but Alvin something. The foundation of it all is insurance. Insurance is at the core of everything in the United States. Maybe somewhere else in the world, that doesn't really matter. But in the US, you cannot function without insurance.
Not at all.
You can't buy a car from any dealership without proof of insurance. You can't buy a home without proof of insurance. And so it's very important. And so when it comes to life, how do you then insure your existence? Because we insure everything else.
Right.
We insure cars, phones,
electronic gadgets.
Yeah. But we fail to insure the engine that controls all of this. So you mentioned the word life insurance, all right, which I wish there was a different terminology to call it, because I think the word life insurance it's had a bad rep.
Right.
And it's misunderstood to a lot of people. To a lot of people, they feel life insurance is a death payout.
Right.
It's a check that is paid off when someone dies.
Right.
In as much as that's the primary purpose of life insurance, there is way more to life insurance.
There's way more into
Because,
it.
like I mentioned, I didn't say when you pass it. I say you want to build a house right now. You're building wealth is when you're alive. So you want something that can benefit or sustain you while you still live. And that is where life insurance still comes in to be that that soft landing. You know, we mentioned earlier,
Yes,
soft
yes,
landing.
yes.
You want to get to a point where you know, if you get off that treadmill, you're not cracking your teeth,
No.
carrying blisters everywhere. Life insurance becomes that soft landing
Where you
for
had
when-
gone out to.
for when the wind comes
Right.
and you can't go to work and you can't sustain yourself financially. It becomes that soft landing. And that is why when you talk to successful people, the word life insurance means something completely different to them. What the average person thinks is just another bill I have to pay.
He was also a financial consultant. The guy started lecturing me. He said, poor people save. Rich people leverage on insurance. He did not say they invest. He said they leverage on insurance. I know we are running out of time, but I in our next show, we really need to sit down and break this down.
Definitely.
You know, our people are perishing because of lack of knowledge.
So it's the best kept secret.
Yes.
That topic right there.
Yes.
Insurance is the best kept secret in the United States of America. And those who know it leverage it, just like you just mentioned.
Yes. And that's why not even the funniest thing is that we're talking about this, not everybody that even apply qualifies. So
No. There's no guarantee for everybody. That's why you're chosen to get it. Because they know the benefit.
Yes.
If it was casual, everyone would be getting it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
Everyone that applies for car insurance almost gets it. They can charge you
Almost.
more, but you're going to get it.
yes.
But not everyone gets life insurance.
Yeah. I've been reading about it. So once again, thank you so much, dear viewers. We have come to the end of this show. It was very interesting talking to you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Sir.